Hey guys, welcome. Join us here. We're getting ready to answer some questions for you, but just wanted to let you guys know if you joined us last week, we were in Colombia. We made it safely back to the US. So we are in Georgia, in our home state
Yeah.
right now. And we were greeted with some hail yesterday, a hailstorm out of nowhere, but the weather is beautiful today. So we were enjoying that. Wanted to share today on our live. We talked last week about the 14-day Amtrak trip video around the U.S. and we get so many questions about that video and about planning a trip. And there's a couple things you can do. You can always obviously use Amtrak Vacations that they have basically all planned out for you. Or what we like to do is we do like to customize ours to, fit certain needs. Like sometimes we want to stop and see a relative or one of our kids.
hmm
So we like to customize them for ourselves. And Rob actually is the master planner when it comes to our Amtrak trips. So he's going to share a little bit about that with you, kind of how he plans it, because it is hard to do if you don't really know where to start, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we just want to let you know too, if you have questions that you want to ask, go ahead and put those in the chat. And then as soon as we kind of talk about this, we'll answer any questions that you might have about Amtrak or any other travel.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so,
oh, before we jump into that, I just wanted to say I don't know why it showed that the live stream was going to start at 3:46. We meant to say at 4, so I don't know. And then Brenda, that sounds awesome. Excited for you on your trip to on the Empire Builder, and that's awesome that you got the buy one get one free.
yeah, that's great. So when you're doing an Amtrak vacation, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that the country is kind of split up uh, in a big square, and you've got Chicago on one end and LA on the other, and basically you have to find a way to get from one side to the other and then back. And there's five routes that go across the country. So you've got the Sunset Limited, you've got the Texas Eagle, you've got the California Zephyr,
Mhm.
the Empire Builder, and the Southwest Chief. So basically, the idea of it is that you want to pick two of those routes, one to go out and one to come back. And if you're ending up in a different city on the West Coast, you can use the CoStar Light to get between them. So
Mhm.
that's what we do. And the reason we love doing that is because you can pick however many days you want to stay in each city.
Mhm.
And one of the big questions we get about that is, do you need separate tickets? Yes, you do need
Mhm.
a separate ticket for each train, and you have to buy them individually, and you
Mhm.
can't just do like a hop on, hop off with that. So,
And it is best if you purchase it ahead of time.
yep,
Don't wait till you're on the train and then, oh, in a couple days I'll buy my next one. Purchase all of the tickets on the legs on the train routes that you're going to be on.
exactly. Do you think it is safe to travel in summer? Is a question we have. What do you think about that?
I think it will be safe. It's just a matter of that they are increasing the capacity on the trains, so it's a question of if you feel like that's going to be okay
Comfortable.
for you if you're
Yeah.
comfortable doing that. But just know that they are increasing the capacity on the trains now.
Back to
So,
full capacity, right?
yes.
Yeah. Another one,
Let's see.
Pat says we're taking the Empire Builder to Spokane in June. Do you think regular
Yes.
dining will be back?
Yes, it will, Pat. It's coming back on May 21st, and it should be on the Empire Builder. So hopefully you'll be enjoying some traditional dining on your Empire Builder trip.
Another one is a thank you from Faith. They're taking a Silver Star trip this upcoming Friday. That's exciting. We've not been on Silver Star.
Yes. Oh, yes. I've written about it. If you've been to the blog, I wrote all about it, did all the research on it. But that's going to be a really cool trip for you. You're gonna have a lot of fun on that
Yeah, so
trip.
if you are trying to put a trip together where you're linking up several trains, one of the difficulties that people have in doing that is knowing which train to connect with which train.
Mhm.
And that was
Mhm.
our big problem. We spent a lot of hours researching that. So on our website, which is groundandlifetravel.com, we have a guide for each route. And on there, we kind of go over which trains link up well with other ones so that you can put them
Mhm.
together
Mhm.
and even which hotels you might want to stay at in the
Mhm.
area because we don't like getting to a station and then having to get an Uber.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of stations, like you'll read on the blog, where you'll just be able to walk right out and get to a particular hotel, walk to it from the station, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Another question here. Sounds like you feel pretty safe traveling during COVID on Amtrak. Yeah, we feel actually really safe
Mhm.
um, because we mostly are traveling in roomettes
Mhm.
and not exclusively, but mostly roomettes. And
Mhm.
um, you have your own room, and you don't
Mhm.
if you don't want to go to the dining room, you don't have to. They'll bring it to you. So
Mhm.
having your own room is key, and I think that's why the Amtrak is going to be pretty popular this summer because you
Right.
can. It's way better than flying
Mhm.
if that's a concern for you. We had to just fly. We just flew home from Colombia, and it was it was not. We didn't have our own space.
We did
We'll
not
say
have
that.
our own space.
So
We were packed in there pretty tight on those
yeah,
planes.
yeah. Another person, Troy, said he's excited taking the Southwest Chief to the Grand Canyon and
Ooh.
LA, and then the Coast Starlight to Emeryville, and then the Zephyr to Denver. Wow, that's an amazing trip. So that's exactly kind of what we were talking about here at the beginning. Was if you pick
Mhm.
one route from Chicago to
Mhm.
LA,
Yep.
then you can take the Coast Starlight either to Emeryville
Mhm.
and go back on the California Zephyr, or you can go all the way up to Seattle or Portland and come back on the
Mhm.
Empire Builder. And yeah, that in our opinion, that's the best way to do it,
Mhm.
and we love it.
Yeah, and that's so sweet. You're taking your mom with you.
Have an
Let's
upcoming
see.
trip
Morgan.
on the Northeast Regional this weekend and decided not to take the Acela based on cost. Yeah,
Mhm.
you
Yes,
do have to check
you
that.
do.
The Acela,
Mhm.
sometimes it's inexpensive and sometimes it's really expensive. We're going to be on
Mhm.
that a few times this summer,
Mhm.
right? And a couple times we did the same thing. Booked the Northeast Regional.
Mhm. Yes, just it's really not a huge difference. I don't know that it's worth the cost.
Yeah,
It's just a
depends.
matter of if the stops align with what you want.
We had never been on the Acela, so
Mhm.
we wanted to do that,
Mhm.
and yeah, we're doing it just for that reason. But
Mhm. And are there certain hours that you can occupy the lounge car? I'm assuming that's you mean the observation car. That is um let's see, that there's no hours. It's actually open 24 hours, and it's
yeah,
available to all passengers, both in coach and in the sleeper cars as well.
yep. And that's one of the things that people ask a lot. And I usually stay up pretty late on the train, and I go down there, and there's always it's safe because there's always a conductor or two hanging out. They're always hanging out kind of in the dining car, and that's kind of usually right next to the lounge car. But they walk through there
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
most of the night,
Oh yeah,
so it's pretty
it's
safe.
manned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Going to my
y'all are doing coach on the Cardinal. Yes, we are.
because
We're doing. That's going to be our first trip back this year. We're doing coach on the Cardinal, but
we're doing a very short section of it, so
we're
we didn't.
only we're going from Charlottesville
Charlottesville to DC.
to DC, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna spend a few nights in DC and go from there. But
Yeah.
it'll be uh, it'll be good, I think.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah,
Let's see. Did we miss any questions in here? I think we got everybody's. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about too the same philosophy if you're trying to plan a trip, which is kind of the circle route. If you're going to look on the East Coast, which I think less people do, it's still you're going to connect through Chicago, New York, Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and they just mentioned the Cardinal. That's one of the ones that you can connect up
Mm-hmm.
with then the Lakeshore Limited
Right. Ooh,
and
yes.
create a circle loop from
Mm-hmm.
Chicago to DC to New York
Up into New
City
York. Mm-hmm.
and even up to Boston and back. So
Mm-hmm.
there's tons of great places you can take a train. And so one of the things we're gonna do, which I know she's really excited about, is take it to Niagara Falls. That's
Yes, I think that's going to be really fun. I know we won't be able to hop over and see the Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, but we'll make do,
yeah,
and we'll get to see them, and we'll get to get up there. I was actually born in New York, But we haven't been to Niagara Falls in ages and ages
Yeah.
and ages.
And she is going to be also completing her 50 states on
Mm-hmm.
that. So we're going to be doing that.
Yes, so I'll be
Going,
we'll be all done by the end of the summer. By July, we'll be all done with all 50, visiting all 50 states. Yay for both of
yeah.
us.
Music is life, Charlottesville, my hometown. Yeah, we're actually going to be in Massanutten, the resort of Massanutten, with her parents, and I think Charlottesville is right
It's
near
very
there.
close.
So we
Hmm.
decided just to kind of go on from there. So let's see. A Michelle says, "How do we know if a train has an upper and a lower deck for coach? Can we buy tickets for either deck if we have a preference?" That is a good question. Um, so the way that I think that it works now, someone can jump. I don't. I'm not. I'm going to preface this with saying I don't 100% know, but the way that I think it works is all the trains we've been on have had upper and lower decks,
Correct.
correct?
Hmm.
And those are the superliner trains.
Superliners, hmm,
So I think the superliner trains all have two
are the only
decks.
ones that have it, I
Yeah.
think. Hmm.
I think the viewliner trains have have the single
Hmm.
deck.
Correct. Yes.
Could be wrong on that, but I think that is. So
Hmm.
check and see if it's a viewliner or a superliner. Now the viewliners are mostly east of the Mississippi,
Hmm.
and the superliners are west of the Mississippi
Hmm.
in general. There's a few exceptions, but the reason for that is the viewliners are shorter, and they generally don't have two decks because they need to fit into tighter spaces in
Hmm.
the bigger
Some
cities.
tunnels and
So
some, yes.
yeah, so anything that goes to New York City is going to be a viewliner,
Hmm.
and most of the rest of the country is a superliner. So
Hmm. So it
and
looks like.
so yeah, see, Troy is saying you can book either upper or lower coach on the superliners only, viewliner single level. Yeah, so he's confirming what we just said. Thank you, Troy. And so if you're east of the Mississippi, you might be on a viewliner. If you're
Hmm.
west of the Mississippi, you're almost for sure
Hmm.
on a superliner.
Yes, because we've booked when we've had the superliner. Like Troy said, you can book either the upper or the lower, and I remember specifically booking the upper. For I remember the
Yeah,
Sunset Limited for sure. We booked the upper on
yeah,
that one.
exactly. Judy says, "Do you have a YouTube to walk me through the ticket purchase from Denver to Salt Lake City?" We do not have that, but we should. We probably will do that soon.
Yes,
Um,
kind of a guide to do it.
yeah,
Hmm.
there is actually a guide on the website though of actually how to purchase tickets and all your options. So
Hmm.
I know that
Hmm.
there's a blog article on the website groundedlifetravel.com. If you go to Amtrak tips on there, then you'll see a lot of articles on tips, and one of them is how to purchase
Hmm.
and the different ways you can purchase. We'll
Hmm.
go over how to do it in the app, how to do it on the website,
Hmm.
or if you just need to call them, you can do
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, and Troy did mention this is a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Is that if you do have mobility issues, you will definitely want to make sure that you're on the lower level if you have the option of upper or lower, because the stairs are challenging to maneuver if you have mobility issues. Very narrow staircase, and they kind of wind around, so it isn't even just going straight up and straight down. It winds around a little.
Yeah,
Uh, Tight, pretty tight corner. I mean, even just our backpacks are big, and sometimes they have a hard time getting up the stairs.
yeah, it's challenging even if you don't have
Hmm.
mobility issues to get up some of those stairs. So, um, someone's asking here, when is the mask mandate over? I do not know, but I don't think that's going to apply to Amtrak anyway. I think they're probably going to have you still wearing a mask
Hmm. Hmm.
in all public areas. That would be my
Hmm.
guess. I don't know that, but so Troy asks, "Can you please talk about how you both pack for sleeping in a roomette?" Yeah, this is a good question because it's
Very
different,
carefully.
and I think the first thing you have to decide is who's going to be on the top and who's going to be on the bottom, because
Hmm.
the person on top has to pack a little differently than the person on the bottom,
That is correct.
right?
You have a lot less space on the top bunk.
So why
Um,
don't you talk about the bottom? Because that's
okay,
where you sleep.
so if you're on the bottom bunk, then you have a little bit more headspace between the actual bed and the up part. So you can usually sit up if you're not super tall. I'm 5'4", so I can sit up. And so I really just bring toiletries. I pack super light. Just we have our bags and all our stuff with us all the time. So we don't tend to pack a ton of stuff anyways, but I bring my toiletries with me and some snacks, and I always have my little travel pillow with me. And they provide you with a blanket, but if you think you're going to get cold, or if you're traveling maybe in the winter and you think it's going to be a little bit colder, bring an extra blanket with you. But it's not, you don't need too much if
No.
you're on the bottom, because you have access to everything on the bottom bunk as
Yeah.
opposed to being on the top bunk.
We usually check our big bag with our most of our
Mhm.
clothes and then bring
Mhm.
a backpack each
Mhm.
with, and then also a food bag, right?
Yes, for
Snacks.
snacks.
Uh, and then a couple of, different shirts in the
Mhm.
backpack to go with
Mhm.
whatever else. Now on the top bunk, you need to think it out a little bit more because it's kind of hard to get down. There's on
Mhm.
some of them there's a lot less space. It's hard to even turn around up there, so you don't want to be coming down and up a lot. There is a little like net where you can open it up and put your valuables in there. So if you have headphones or
Mhm.
you can put
Mhm.
your phone in there. Um, I usually put a couple
Mhm.
snacks in there, so I'm not asking her for snacks. And anything that you want, you will want to bring some flip flops with you,
Mhm.
especially if you're on a superliner roomette where there's no toilet in your room,
Mhm.
because in the middle of the night, I know that if you're on the top bunk and you're coming down, there's really nowhere to stand to put
Right. The
shoes
room,
on.
it's probably you have
It's so
about this much
narrow.
space
Yeah.
once the
So
bed is down.
so you really just want to have flip flops at the
Mhm.
bottom of the stairs, throw them on, and then get out. Now, if you were in the bottom bunk, you could sit up in your bed and put your shoes on or your flip flops or
Mhm.
whatever. You might not
Mhm.
want to put shoes on, but definitely if you're in the top, you would want to just have like flip flops
Mhm.
and kind of
Yeah.
minimize the stuff because there's a lot less space on the top. Let's see. What would be the best type of reservation? So
This
the
is, yeah, from Denver to
from
Salt Lake,
Denver to
she's
Salt
saying.
Lake City.
Mhm.
So that's gonna be the California Zephyr. Ooh, that's a great one.
Uh-huh. And
Um,
that's a nice ride
the
from Denver to Salt Lake
so
City.
the observation car, you don't need a reservation for that. Everyone on the train can go to that, whether you have coach, a roomette, or whether you have a
Yep.
bedroom,
Yeah.
anything.
Everyone.
Everyone can go. So that is where you'll want to spend a lot of your time. But if you have a roomette, then you'll have privacy for that, and you'll have
Mhm.
your own little room to look out.
Mhm.
So we did that ride in a roomette, correct?
Mhm. We did,
And
because
that was
we
good.
took it all the way across.
Yeah. So some of the time we were in the roomette, and some of the time we went to the observation car. And what's good about the observation car is you can see both sides,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
they're different. So
Yes. So from if you're doing from Denver to Salt Lake City, that's, is it overnight? Do you know if that's overnight? I'm
no, because
wondering
you
if,
leave Denver in the
oh, that's
morning.
right, it's early in the morning. So it almost, it'd be fine even just to get a coach seat, because you can go to the
Yeah.
observation car if you wanted to. Um, if money was of a concern, then you could book a coach seat because it's not an overnight. Or if you just wanted to have a private space, then just get a roomette.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It can be sometimes it's good to get a roomette, even if you're not doing overnight, if you want that extra privacy. But it's not necessary because if you're going to spend all your time in the observation deck anyway, then a
Hmm.
coach seat will
Hmm.
get you access to
Yes.
that anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. RB says, have you ever had a stop in Dallas? I'm thinking of taking my first train trip from Union Station in Washington, D.C. to Dallas,
Mm.
Texas. Do you think it will take more than 2 days? Let's see. Washington, D.C. I have a map right here. And Washington, D.C., it looks like you
To
are going to
Dallas.
have to take, yeah, it's a pretty hard connection because from
Mm-hmm.
D.C., you would have to go to New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
on the Crescent. And then from New Orleans, you would have to go to San Antonio on the Sunset Limited. And then from San Antonio, you'd have to go to Dallas on the let's see, that'd be the Texas
The
Eagle.
Texas Eagle.
Yeah, so it would be three separate trains to get from DC to Dallas,
So it would
and
be more than
it
two
would be
days.
at least, yeah, 3 days,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
that
that's a tough one.
it's because it's actually 12 hours from Atlanta to New Orleans. So from Washington D.C. to New Orleans, it's going to be pretty much a whole day, and then you're going to have to probably stay the night in New Orleans, and you're going to have to. I think the connection in San Antonio to Dallas is in the middle of the
It
night,
is.
but it's going to be probably 3 days to do that.
Mhm.
Let's see. The next question is: have you guys ever traveled from LA to Florida? And if so, was it a great experience? We have not done that because you can't get all the way to Florida right now. You used to be able to, um, and they've kind of done away with the New Orleans to Jacksonville route. So there's really no way to get from LA to Florida. We've done New Orleans to LA, and it was a great
Mhm.
experience. But that's
Mhm.
pretty much as far as you can go.
Mhm.
Let's see. Someone here is saying the Happy Hodag is
Oh
saying
yeah,
take the
sure.
Capital Limited to Chicago,
Mhm.
then the Texas Eagle to Dallas. That is actually, yeah, quite a bit better route.
Mhm.
That would be
Mhm.
just two
Yep.
trains, 2 nights. So yeah, if you're still on, take
RB.
their advice. That would be two good
Yeah.
ones.
Good. Nice.
Capital Limited, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
and if the times don't match up, you could even take the Cardinal, but Capital Limited is quicker.
Mhm. There you go.
So
You're all set,
that's a good
RB.
one. That's great. That's why I love being on here because people have great ideas, and there's so many of these great routes you can
Mhm.
link up and just do amazing vacations with. So loves to travel says, how much does the roomettes cost extra? Um, they are. It depends on how long and how long the train ride is, but let's go with just a long trip, like a 2 night trip. So
Mhm.
normally, they're like about $1,000 for two people for a 2 night, 3 day trip.
Mhm.
On the buy one get one free sale, they're about 550, and a coach for that is going to be 150 to $200.
Mhm.
So it's a couple $100 more, but you do get all your meals included. So what do
Yes,
you think? Is
which
that worth
I
it?
think so. Yes, I think it is worth it. Again, because you don't have to worry about, you know, space. You can rest a little if you want to in quiet, and you'll have your meals provided.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said.
What would be
This one here.
Okay, what's the best way to get from North Carolina to Washington State? Most direct route. Okay, this is a testing one. To Washington State? Okay, that's not going to be too hard. You need to get, uh, you'll need to take, depending on where in North Carolina are, you'll need to get up to basically Charlottesville, Virginia, on either the Crescent, well, on the Crescent. And then from there, you can take the Cardinal to Chicago, and from Chicago, the Empire Builder over to Washington State. And that's a really nice trip.
Mhm.
So it's two trains from Charlottesville or three from North Carolina. But that's a really good
Let's
one.
see. I'm looking to see where we're at. Keep track.
Let's see.
Here.
I have a trip booked from Kansas to Fort Lauderdale. Got a roomette. Any tips for making the trip more enjoyable? Thank you. Um, I would just say pack a few snacks. Don't pack too much though,
Mhm.
and just be ready to enjoy yourself. It's gonna
Uh-huh.
be
Yes.
just be relaxed because it's
Mhm.
a whole different experience than driving or flying.
Mhm.
We just flew like 3 days ago, and it was stressful.
It's so
Uh,
stressful.
and this is not going to be stressful for you. So
Mhm.
just just relax and let them
Yes.
do what they do.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
Best option for solo traveler from Chicago to LA. Oh, that's easy breezy.
Yeah, there's two trains that go directly from Chicago to LA. So you can take your pick. One is the Southwest Chief, and the other is the Texas Eagle, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So they differ in length. The Texas Eagle takes longer.
Right.
And what do you think as far as
And it
scenery?
connects, the Texas Eagle connects with the Sunset Limited. As far as the scenery, Gosh, I don't, it's hard to pick which one has better scenery. I think it more depends on if you want to see more mountains or if you want to see more kind of desert landscape. And I don't want to poo-poo the desert landscape because I think it's beautiful and there's just so much to see there. You also go along the Mexican border as well. You can actually look see Mexico from the train itself, so that's kind of cool there too. But again, you get great views as well on the Southwest Cheese. So it's really a preference for a personal preference of what you want to see. But those are two very good options and easy, nice trip for a solo traveler.
Yeah, I would probably pick the Southwest Chief just because it's shorter and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes through, Arizona, the northern
Mm-hmm.
part of Arizona, and the
Mm.
northern part of New Mexico, which I think is maybe a little bit prettier than the southern part.
Mm. Yes,
So,
I
but
can see
that's
that. Yes.
that's up to you. Denise says, "What would be a good trip for my husband and I traveling from Detroit, Michigan?" Hey, Detroit, that's where I'm from. Maybe LA or Florida. I assume we would have to change trains. Okay, so from Detroit, you're gonna go to Chicago first, almost assuredly. That's just where you'll end up. So you got to take a train to Chicago. From Chicago, the world is yours. I mean, almost every big train in the country goes through Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So being in Detroit, you're in a good spot. You just have a couple hours ride to Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can get on any train you want.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were you and you're just doing a vacation, pick the best train that you can get on, the prettiest or the place you've always wanted to go. So I would choose either the Empire Builder or the California Zephyr
Mm-hmm.
or the Southwest Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you wanted to go east, you could take the Lakeshore Limited and go to New York. Um, it is a little bit trickier to get to Florida from Chicago. That's the one
Mm.
place that Florida's hard to get to
It is.
unless you're up in New York. Um, it's just hard. There's not a line
Mm-hmm.
that goes. There's a big hole in the Amtrak system because nothing cuts from Chicago to Atlanta,
Right.
which is what we were hoping.
Without taking a lot of different trains,
Yeah,
yeah.
but Chicago's a great place to be, kind of centered around, and you're not that far away from there in Detroit. So, yeah, just pick one of the great ones.
Mm.
Let's see. Have you guys ever done the Northern Rail experience with Amtrak Vacations? Thinking about booking a trip in September. No, I haven't done that. I don't know what it is. If you tell us a little bit more what it is, I'd love to know what that is. Northern Rail experience. No, I don't know what that is.
On those journeys, I think you were trying to get from Chicago to LA. You're asking for Rafik. You're asking if a roomette for a solo traveler. You are looking at an overnight on both of those, so I would recommend a roomette for those.
Yeah. Why was flying a headache? Well, we were in a we were starting out in a rural part of Colombia, and it just took a long
It
time.
took 2 days and 3 plane rides, and there are a lot more things to be concerned
And
with
then
now, and security, and
we
it's
had to
just
get tested before we could get on the plane. And then there's a bunch of new apps you have to fill out if you're flying internationally. So it
and you
was,
have to submit paperwork and also have the paperwork in case the app isn't working. So it's kind of, you have so many things you have to do to prepare that it's like,
yeah.
ah.
And the airports were taking a really long time because
Mhm.
they spend about 3 times as much time with
Mhm.
each person as they normally would because they have to check
Yes.
your test. They have to make sure of a lot of different things now. And it was just,
And that was for international.
yeah, I'm sure in the
Yeah.
states it's just the same as normal, but
Mhm.
it was a little bit of a headache. Not because of anything with the airline, just because of where we were coming from or where we were going
Mhm.
to, because we were in a remote location.
LA to
Uh,
Las Vegas.
Estimation from LA to Vegas. There is no train from LA to Vegas right
Not
now.
yet.
So I don't know if they're asking how long that would take or when the train's coming, but I don't know when the train is coming there. That's definitely in the plans though. There's a couple different outfits trying to put a train from LA to Vegas, but
Mhm.
soon. I think that's going to be one of the first ones they try to do. How is the scenery from Washington to Fort Lauderdale, in your opinion? Washington D.C. I'm assuming. Um, yeah, it's. I would say it's nice scenery. It's not the
Mhm.
best in the country,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
It's kind of similar to the scenery from Atlanta to New Orleans, where
Mhm. A
it
lot of rural towns, and actually a lot of trees.
yeah.
You are going to see a lot of trees. They line the the railway, and so you're going to see that a lot on both sides.
But
Is the only
what's
kind of
cool
bad
about it,
thing.
I think, is you'll see things you've never seen before, and
Mhm.
things that you never could see if you weren't on a train, because those kind of rural routes show you a part of America that you never knew
Mhm.
existed, unless you live there, but you can't live all those places. So
Right.
it was really cool to do that. But it's not like you're going by, oh wow, there's Mount Rainier, or there's you know
Mhm.
uh, Mount St. Helens, or the Mississippi River, or so there are some other routes that generally west of the Mississippi are the prettiest ones, but the ones on the East Coast are cool, just from the sense of seeing parts of the country you've never seen.
Let's see. Any idea on the price? I'm assuming the Pacific Surfliner.
Let's
Or
see. I'll go to this one here. Do you have a preference of using the website or app to book tickets? Um, I generally actually use the website, be, but a lot of people use the app just because I like to look up a lot of things on my computer while I'm booking stuff. So um, I think that, but then we use the app to board the train, right? You have them all
correct.
on your phone.
Yep. It's easy because you can keep track of all of your tickets on there real easily. You just hold it up, they scan it, you move on your way. And it reminds you of everything that you need to know for that day of travel. So I like the app personally, but
Yeah, the app is good. Um, Wife's taking a trip, 3 nights this June. That's going to be great. Maybe we will
nice.
see you. We're going to be on in June.
We
Yeah.
will be there in June. I don't know
So
which one you'll be on, but we'll be on train on at least a couple trains in
yeah, we're going
June.
to be on a couple trains. We're going to be going from DC to New York, and
hmm
then over to Chicago, and then out to LA, because our daughter is moving to LA, and we're gonna go help get her set up out there. And we're gonna use Amtrak. Let's see. Glad I caught you live. Thinking of taking Amtrak to Grand Canyon, but I may have to solo. Safety is my concern. You can talk about that a little bit, because that's a big concern for a lot of people. What do
hmm
you think it's like?
I think I don't think safety is a huge concern. We did a whole video on the safety on Amtrak, and kind of what we felt in both coach and being in sleeper car, and really found the experience to be really good. We found the Amtrak staff on the train to always be alert and always be available. I don't remember a time where I felt like I needed to ask somebody something and I couldn't find someone. They're available, and always you'll see them walking throughout the train all the time. So if you have questions or a concern or anything, and they do take care of any issues, if there's a problem with another passenger or whatever, they take care of it right away. On a couple journeys, we've seen them, expel other
Mhm.
passengers from the train if necessary. So I wouldn't be concerned as far as safety on Amtrak. You
Yeah,
just do, just normal things. Always, have your wits about you, and you have your valuables near you and that kind of stuff. But I think it's pretty
yeah. I think one tip that we'd mentioned on maybe that video or another one was,
good.
if you're in coach, have your stuff in a backpack, because then
Mhm.
if you want to go to the observation car,
Mhm. Mhm.
you can take it with you,
Right.
and don't have a bunch of bags, because if you're solo traveling and you want to go, you'll need to get up to go to the
Mhm.
cafe, or this is if you're not in a roomette. If you're in a roomette, you have
Mhm.
no problem, but if you're in coach, you'll need to go to the cafe,
Mhm.
you'll need to go to the bathroom. So you want to have, you can leave one of your bags there with all your clothes in it, but
Mhm.
don't leave your wallet, your phone, and
Mhm.
your iPad, sitting out. Put that in a backpack and just take it with you wherever you go. And if you
Right.
do that, I don't think you'll have any
Yeah,
problem.
you'll be fine. Let's see. Sarah, we balance each other. A lot of people
Well,
say that.
thank you.
Let's see. And I think you're saying that video is awesome. I think you're talking about this Amtrak safety one, maybe. And Raphael, ooh, you've been all over the US on Amtrak and Mexico. That's awesome. Super cool. We'd like to do some train rides in Mexico too. Um, let's see what else.
Michelle is saying she's traveled as a solo female
Ah,
twice from
uh-huh.
St. Louis to Chicago
And to
and
Michigan.
to Michigan and felt very
Great.
safe. And
Good.
that's great. That's one we're going to be on that one this summer. Um, so the room mat does not lock from the outside. Okay, so this is a source of big question,
A lot of
which
questions
we're
on
going
this
to
one.
answer on the next time we're on our room mat. There is a lock. There is a hole for you to lock the roomette from the outside. There is a hole where you could
Mhm.
put a padlock. Okay. So some people say that you can put one on there.
Mhm.
Some people say they tell you you can't.
Mhm.
So it seems to be
But we have seen them on the
we have
roomette
seen them on
doors
there. Yeah.
in on trains we were on.
And we have
So
never
we've
seen,
never used one, so it's not a personal
yeah.
experience, but we have seen them on the roomettes on trains that we were on,
Yeah.
passengers on.
So if you really wanted to lock your valuables in your roomette, if you bring your own padlock, your room steward might let you use it. Is the answer, because
Maybe tip him extra and he'll be fine
we've
with
seen them
it.
used, and we've never seen anybody not be able to do it.
Mhm.
But people have said in the chat or in the
That they
comments
weren't
that they were
able to do it.
told not to do it. So we've never
Mhm.
experienced that though. But so that's the thing.
Wayne, you're asking about check bags. We had no problems with check bags. It's actually great to not have to keep track of them. And they do allow you, which is obviously different than an airline, they allow you two free check bags
Yeah,
with your ticket. So that's really nice.
it's great.
And we had no safety issues. Nothing was missing from our bags. We had no concerns. They go into a luggage carousel that no one accesses but staff. So I don't think there's any issues as far as that's concerned for
No.
safety on those.
And when you get your bags, when you get off the train, your bags are there in like 5 minutes, because when you're getting off the train, they're pulling the bags off the train and they're just right there for you. And some places they'll bring them into like a little carousel thing, and you gotta wait a little bit. But a smaller station, they'll just
Mm-hmm.
like hand them to you right off the train. So that's pretty
Yes.
convenient.
Yeah. You just take it with you right
Was it
inside.
In Tucson?
Mm-hmm. In Tucson,
Yeah,
they gave them to us train side, and we wheeled them
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Like in Chicago, you're gonna have to do a little more to get it,
They
but
actually have luggage carousels,
yeah.
like in the airport.
So Diane says, "How to begin? Just call Amtrak.
Mm.
Would like to take a trip from San Fran to DC." You could just call Amtrak. Definitely could call
Mm-hmm.
Amtrak, and they would walk you through it. Uh, or you could book it yourself. To book it yourself, you'll have to know which routes connect with which routes. So you
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
go from where? San
San
Fran
Francisco
to DC.
to DC.
Okay,
So
that's a
that would be
pretty.
Emeryville.
So that would be, you're gonna need just to ride the California Zephyr to Chicago, and then you could ride either the Cardinal or the Capital Limited.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the Limited. I get the Limited and the Corridor confused, but I think it's the Capital Limited. So the California Zephyr and the Cardinal or the Capital Limited
Mhm.
to DC, just two trains, and you just got to book those two train rides. So you can either call them or do that yourself. And if you need more information on those routes, we have them on the website, on the blog.
Mhm.
Kind of tells you some tips on where you might want to stay in those places, because we've stayed in those, we've done those,
Mhm.
and so that's my
Yeah.
advice is, if you feel comfortable doing it, it's
Mhm.
fine. Otherwise, you can call them.
And then more information on the Southwest Chief. Maybe what would you like to know? Maybe more specific about the Southwest Chief. It
Yeah, it goes
goes.
from Chicago to LA.
Mhm.
And it basically, the Southwest Chief follows. It's kind of cool because it follows the old Route 66 route. So you'll actually end up going through some of the Route 66 towns
Mhm.
out west, and and near there you'll go through, Flagstaff and just a bunch of places out there. There's a lot of good places to get off on the Southwest Chief if you want to kind of get off and
Mhm.
see part of Arizona. That's a good place. There's Albuquerque you're going to go through,
Mhm.
but the
Yes.
Southwest Chief is definitely one of the most popular um, Amtrak routes.
A video for newbies? Yes, we do. There's a beginner's guide to Amtrak right here on the channel. If you just type that in, you'll run right into it. Let's see, route from
Baltimore,
Baltimore,
D.C.
DC
for someone that wants to take a trip with overnight on the train for the
for the
experience.
experience.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So
Kitchen Penguin.
I would recommend probably the Cardinal from Washington D.C. to Chicago. Um, you could also do, yeah, that's probably the one I'd recommend. If you didn't want to go to, it depends on where you want to end up, but I would recommend you either an overnight on the Cardinal to Chicago, or you could do one of the ones down to Florida, which is the Silver Star or Silver Meteor.
Mm-hmm. And the next question was about, does Amtrak have a program similar to the Eurail
They
Pass
do,
where you can use segments at will?
yeah, they do have one. It's called USA Rail Pass, I think. It's on their website. We haven't written anything about that or done a video, which we probably should, because we've never used it.
Mm-hmm.
But we looked into it several times, and the one thing about it is it always sounded great to me before I ever rode on Amtrak. But then the thing is they're all going to be coach tickets. So if you're going to be using it extensively,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're going to do the Empire Builder, then the Coast Starlight, that's a lot of time in coach for most people. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're breaking it up, that works
Sure.
better.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't want to do 5 or 6 overnights in coach,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just depends on what your situation is. It's a good deal though if you can use it. And the other thing is, though, coach tickets sometimes go on sale. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on your route, it might be cheaper just to
Right.
buy the actual tickets
Mm-hmm.
if you get them like a buy one get one free. So look into those different things, but they do have that though. Yes.
And Corey, yes, for the actual train footage itself, we do use a GoPro.
Yeah, we have a suction cup mount
Mm-hmm.
thing that we stick
Yeah, we
on
just
there.
stick it right to the window and it just sits there so we don't have to hold
Yeah.
it. It's
So
more steady that way. If I try to hold it, then you're bouncing with the train.
have you guys done the Amtrak Auto Train?
No, we have
No,
not.
no. Probably we don't have a car. we
We sold it when we sold the house.
well, we gave our other car to our daughter, and she has our car. So no no need for the auto train.
um, on the Southwest Chief.
Can you get off in Albuquerque and then spend a day there and get back on a different day? You can, but only if you buy 2 tickets. So it's not like
Mm-hmm.
you can go get off and then get back on whenever you want. So you'd have to get a ticket from Chicago to Albuquerque, and then 2 days later have another ticket from
Mm-hmm.
Albuquerque to Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles. So it doesn't work. A lot of people would
They're
love to
not
do that.
hop on, hop
They're
off,
not. Yeah, you can't get on
basically.
and off. It's not kind
Mm-hmm.
of like some other countries where you can do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tipping policy
Ooh.
on Amtrak from Bob. Um, they don't have a policy. It's really up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've kind of determined through what we've always seen and what some other people said in another chat was that most people tip for a room for a sleeper car between $5 to $10 per
Mm-hmm.
person per night.
Mm-hmm.
So for a 2 night trip for 2 people, we've tipped $20 before, and they've been very happy with that. We've seen people tip all the way up to 50.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people not tip at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
It really is just what you feel comfortable with and what your personal policy is on tipping, but the attendants are always very attentive and very helpful, we have always found. So we've always found it to be, you know, the right thing to do to tip them. So we always do that.
yeah. So next one is going to be I like these ones where you're trying to get somewhere.
I feel like it's a test, like
It's a
they're trying to
test,
test
yeah.
you.
And I got the map right here. Uh, Baltimore, Maryland to Clarksville, Tennessee. Ooh, this is going to be good. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, that is a tough one. You would the hmm. So the main problem is that Clarksville is not served by a train; it's served by a bus. Um, so it depends on where you'd want to ride the bus from. But from DC, you could take the Cardinal to the way of up by Chicago. I would definitely do that. And then you could probably, I don't know the bus route, so that's a little bit of a problem, but you might be able to get a bus from Cincinnati, it looks like. Or if you didn't, you'd have to go up to Chicago and then take the city of New Orleans down to Fulton, which is pretty, well, no, that wouldn't get you there, to Carbondale, which then you could take a bus from. Probably the best thing to do for that route is to call Amtrak because they're going to know
Mhm.
the bus connections and which you just want to know. You're almost assuredly going to be riding the Cardinal, but you need to know which city to get off to get the bus to Clarksville.
Mhm. And Jacqueline has 2 hour layover in Washington D.C. You're right in the middle of everything from Union Station there. So if you can store your bags, if you have bags, you do have time to run out and see a couple things that are not too far from Union Station there in DC.
Yeah, or you can just see Union Station
And
too.
Union Station is fun too. There's lots of stuff to do there. There's shopping. They have
They
restaurants
have
in there,
restaurants.
so there's a lot to do in Union Station itself too. You're right. Let's
Kitchen
see.
Penguin
Ah,
says, "Thank
yes.
you. I've been watching your videos and want to take a trip. The destination isn't important as the transportation." Yeah, exactly. That's how we feel a lot.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
it's just fun when you get on the train and it takes off. It's just kind of like, it feels good, right?
Yes, it does. It's just a, it's going to be fun. It just feels exciting when you get on and it starts moving. You just want to sit at the window and look out.
Probably more for you because you drive.
Yes.
She drives 100% of the time if we're driving somewhere because I drive too safely, too slowly.
I'm not going to comment on
Yeah.
that.
I can't remember the last time I drove. Really, it's been probably 5 years. Let's see. Can you lock a roomette when you are not inside? Yeah, we kind of covered that a little bit, but the answer is there is a room place for a lock, and you can do that. But some people have said their tenant told them they couldn't, so it's up for debate.
Okay, let's see.
Might be taking a trip to Oklahoma in October or November. What would be the best way to do the trip? Get a sleeper or just the seats? So you just have to check the website and see
Mhm.
what the time is because if it's just during the
Mhm.
day, coach is just fine.
Mhm.
You really only need a sleeper if you're going to be a full overnight.
Mhm. Yeah, it depends. You didn't mention where you're from, so it depends on where you're coming from. If that's gonna, how long of a trip that's gonna be. If it's not an overnight, then coach is fine.
Gwendolyn wants to know how we decided to travel by Amtrak.
It's because, well, Rob has wanted to do train travel for a long time, and I think last week I was saying that one of the things that I was kind of reserved about was because I get motion sick very easily, which is really probably mostly why I drive, because I get less motion sick if I'm driving. So that's one of the reasons we held off. But when we were in Italy, we didn't really, and we did quite a bit of travel 2 years ago in Europe on trains there, especially in Italy, and rode the trains and I had no problems there. So
Mhm.
when we got back to the US, then we said, all right, let's do Amtrak then, and haven't had any trouble since.
Yeah.
So
So Yvette wants to know about children on Amtrak. Have you ever seen
oh
children?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And they seem to really be enjoying it. They like to wave at the people when we're crossing and there's like cars stopped and the cars wave back. So yes, we've seen little tiny ones like babies all the way up to even teenagers.
Yeah. It's not like
Mhm.
full of children. I
Mm-mm.
think mostly because most families with children can't
Mhm.
afford the luxury of that many days off
Right.
away from home. They need to
Mhm.
fly. to get
To
there
get there
quicker.
quickly.
But yeah, we do see children, and not a problem.
Mhm.
They'll love it. Let's see. For solo, do you have to pay for one or for the other person? No, you. If you're in coach, you definitely don't have to pay for the other person. If you have a roomette or a room, it's a little bit more like a cruise where they kind of ding you a little bit for
Mhm.
being by yourself.
Mhm. Kind of a little bit of an you're not paying double, quite double, but you are paying.
But coach, if you're riding coach, that's just like an airline. So just like buying
Mhm.
one airline ticket
Mhm.
or two would be just double that. So
Sarah is having a good chuckle. I don't know.
I think it's because I don't drive
Because
anymore.
he's not driving, I know. Our kids think it's pretty funny too.
Yeah,
He's only 48, you guys.
I didn't give
Okay.
away my age.
Oh, sorry. Let's
She's
see.
a good 10, 15 years younger than me.
Obviously.
What side of the Empire Builder is best for views? That's pretty easy. I think the north side.
Mhm.
So whichever way you're going, sit on the north side because the north side is going to have Glacier National Park. You're going to
Mhm.
see Puget Sound,
Mhm.
and you're going to see the Mississippi River
Mhm.
for most of
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, easy north side on the
Yeah.
Empire
That
Builder.
was actually probably one of the trains that we were w- one of the train rides we were most surprised by was the views on the Empire Builder. Nobody ever talks about it, but there are some gorgeous views on that
Yeah,
train.
that's one of the prettiest, most underrated routes, Empire Builder.
And
Sarah says,
Sarah,
take a
yes.
backpack. Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
If you have a backpack, you don't have to worry about
Yep.
locking stuff.
Yeah, and you can get a cheap one, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Burlington, any of those.
Have you ever traveled with a group of family friends? How easy is that to arrange? We have not,
Mm-mm.
but we're going to. My parents, after they saw our videos, wanted to go, so we're gonna do that. I don't think it's very hard to arrange. You just need to get enough rooms for everybody, and if you want to be right next to each other, you probably need to say something about
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
otherwise, it's not going to be hard.
Mhm. Let's see.
Let's see.
Right. Does observation car open? No, observation car is always open. Oh, they're from Grand Rapids.
Ooh, that Grand Rapids. That's actually where I was born, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I went to school in Kentwood, Michigan.
So yes, the observation car is open 24 hours and it is manned. You'll see the staff either sometimes they just sit in there and relax during their off hours or their like breaks. You'll see them in there, but there's always staff in there coming through or sitting in there.
Yeah, and the cafe, which is under the observation car, is not open 24 hours though. So
Right.
if you want to have food in there like late at
Mhm.
night, you'll need to
Mhm.
bring a food bag because otherwise you'll be without food.
And Jacqueline, yes, there are people that actually ride in coach for more than 2 days.
Yeah, we did it.
Yes.
We did it for one
Mhm.
one overnight, 2 days, and
Mhm.
we said that was enough.
And one night was enough for
Yeah,
us.
but the thing is, it depends on you because like when we were younger, we were crazy. Like we would do like fly like extra legs of a flight just to get the miles, and now I'm like, that's crazy. Why would I want to be on a plane longer than I have to be? So you know, we would fly the long way around just to get more. And um, when you're younger, you can handle that easier, I think. But
We talked about this earlier, Anthony, but the traditional dining is coming back on May 21st, and you can have your meals in your roomette or your bedroom if you would like. You can actually even have your meal in the observation car. They'll deliver it to you there if you would like that as well. So that's coming back very soon. So yay!
let's see. Thank you, Nikita. She says
Thanks,
we're the
Nikita.
best. So if I want to sit on the north side on Empire Builder, how can I request that side of the train? I'm assigned a seat usually. That is usually what
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm.
Some people say they can call in
Mhm.
and get something arranged. So if you really want to be on that side, you can try to call. But there really isn't a good way that we found to, other than that, of guaranteeing which side you're
Mhm.
on because
Mhm.
sometimes they even flip the coaches around, and they don't know until you get there
Mhm.
what side is which side. So yeah, just a general observation though, the north side is better, and that one does have a observation car, the Empire Builder.
Mhm.
So worst case scenario, you can always be in there and see the north side
Mhm.
too.
Yes, and let's see. The
2 for 1. How often?
oh, the 2 for 1 was just on, and it's usually only once or twice a year,
Mhm.
and it just ended April 16th, I want to say, somewhere around there. So it'll probably be a while, if at all, if they do another one this year. It'll be a while if they do
Yeah,
another one.
it'll be the fall.
So bummer. Let's see. Did I miss something else on here?
Have you
Um,
ever upgraded from coach to roulette
ah,
while on board, and if so, how difficult? We have not.
No, I saw that they do offer it if there are open roomettes, but I feel like that's going to happen less and less now, especially with the increase in capacity. I don't know that it's going to be available as much. I don't know that it would be very difficult to do that, but not 100% sure because we've never done it. And I think Carl is saying Tucson that that's where I think he was asking earlier about going to
Well,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Uh huh.
Okay, let's see. Tucson.
So he's coming from Tucson. We like Tucson. We had a good time there.
Okay, so from Tucson, you'll ride well, you'll probably ride the Texas Eagle. You could ride the Sunset Limited to San Antonio either.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
from there, you're going to ride straight up to Oklahoma City.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure the name of that train actually, but you can get from San Antonio to Oklahoma City. Uh,
Ooh, I'm trying to think of what the name of it is.
but you will have to change trains once to do that. But the ride from Tucson to San Antonio is beautiful. You can do that. So the
Closest. Oh, sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
I was just gonna say closest station to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
Choo choo. uh.
It's probably Gainesville, Georgia, or Toccoa, Georgia.
Mm.
Yeah, there's not a station in that part of Tennessee. Atlanta might be the quickest if you can just drive down I-75.
Nikita, I'm thinking when they bring back the traditional dining, they're still going to just seat like one party together as opposed to putting you with people you don't know just yet because they still will have the mask mandate on the train. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming they will not seat you with strangers to start out
And Stevie, for Southwest Chief, do you recommend how to get to Santa Fe? There is a bus connection,
with.
an Amtrak throughway bus connection. You would get off in, ooh, I don't know how to say that. Lamy, Albuquerque. Lammy?
Lammy,
La-
Lammy, Lammy.
Lammy or Lamy? Yeah, if you get off there, there's a bus to Santa Fe. So that would be pretty easy.
Good.
Hello
Hi
from.
to Gigi.
Yeah, there's always staff visible, and they're
hmm
always, whenever I walk through late at night, they always say hi. So
We have not taken the city of New Orleans, but we might be
yeah, we're,
thinking about
we're
that.
thinking about it.
Mhm.
New Orleans is a great place. Schedule an overnight in New Orleans, like an extra night or two. They have the World War II Museum. They've got, of course,
Mhm.
Bourbon Street, a lot of great
Mhm.
restaurants, tons of stuff to see. Good place.
Yeah.
Do you need to wear masks in the roomettes? No.
No. Once you're in your roomette, you don't have to wear it. So that's actually the only place that you can take it off. For a while, you could take it off in the observation car, and then they changed it and had you have to have it on unless you're actively eating or drinking.
Right.
You have to have your mask on. Unless you are in your roomette, it is right now the only place where you can take it off, and obviously the bathroom
Shower.
and shower. Yeah, maybe don't take a shower with your
Uh,
mask on.
have you ever done the vacation package trips? No, we haven't.
No, because Rob really likes to plan trips, and it breaks his soul for someone else to plan a trip.
I don't
No,
know that I don't know that
he
I
just
like it.
really enjoys the planning process, I think.
Yeah. Anne Marie says there's a train from Albuquerque to
Ooh.
Santa Fe called the Rail Runner. Very
Ah.
inexpensive. Thank you. So that's a good one for
Thank you,
you.
Anne Marie.
If you ride past that Albuquerque, you can get on the Rail Runner.
There you
Apparently,
go.
not have to do the bus. See,
That is
that's what's
real
great.
nice.
People know this stuff if they've been through there before. Do you guys know about any specific Amtrak locomotives, or am I asking too in depth? We do not know
Mm,
about the locomotives. All I know is
specifically.
I do know though that this summer there's going to be some new paint schemes
Ooh.
um, out in the wild. There's supposed to be five, I think five new
Mm-hmm.
ones, which are
Mm-hmm.
like old time designs. And so those are going to be pretty cool. And we're going to be on the lookout for those, try to get a picture with one or maybe even ride one this summer. So that's, yeah, that's, we don't know too much about the locomotives,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Sorry. So a phase six, no, we have no idea what that is.
Mm-mm.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's out of our depth.
Yeah, we only know about the inside.
Maybe we should study.
We need to look
I'm
up
gonna
on that.
find out what that is
Yeah,
because now I want to know.
by next week she'll have like she'll know all the
Come back
locomotives.
next week and I'll know. I can answer something about
Um,
it.
main concern is filtration of air. Is it safe
Mm-hmm.
compared to flying?
They actually use the same filtration system, and they do mention that when we got on the train, talked about the filtration system they use on board. And this essentially the same one that they're using on the airplanes right now.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say about that is, and I was just on a plane 2 days ago. There's a lot less people per square foot on a train than on a
Mm-hmm.
plane.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the day, the observation car, there's nobody in it. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back on our channel and you see like people like, how did you get that picture in the observation car for your thumbnail with nobody in it? There just
There was
wasn't.
no one
There
in
was
it.
nobody in it. It wasn't like a special thing or anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
just they're just empty.
Yeah.
So depending on your route, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
then the coach seats are bigger
Mm-hmm.
and they're more spread out.
And they lay back
They
a
lay
lot
back
farther,
farther,
and
so
you have the leg rest too, which is really
so
nice.
where there might be 50 people on a plane in a certain area, there would only be like 20 people on a train. So um, it's generally safer in that way too.
Okay, I got a homework question. I'm gonna write
Oh,
this
oh
down in
boy.
my phone before it goes off the screen. You guys keep talking, but I'm gonna put down my homework
So
question.
Nikita asked if we're back in the United States, which yes, we are. We're back in Georgia. We're in Atlanta. We flew in 2 days ago, and from Colombia. So really good to be back, and we're enjoying it here. So what's the homework question?
I
What
got it
is a
ready.
cowl body? Tell me in a few
Hmm.
weeks. Okay, we'll
I'm
do
nervous though, because cowl is in quotes.
it.
This may require quite a bit of work. I'm gonna cheat though, and I'm probably gonna have my
Uh,
father-in-law help
Carl's asking
me.
room versus a seat. Okay, from
From
Tucson to Oklahoma
oh,
City.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, you could do a coach. We
Mhm.
did that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's
actually
not bad
got
at
off.
all.
We went the other way. We got off in Tucson.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that the great thing about that train, Carl, is it has an observation car.
Mhm.
So if you get a coach seat in a train with an observation car, you can just go up the observation car, and it's really
Mhm.
comfortable. There's tables. You can do whatever you want, no problem. I would do coach if I were you. Have you ever been to Williamsburg by Amtrak for Christmas?
No, we haven't.
No, unfortunately, we haven't made it.
No, but I bet you that would be really pretty.
We haven't made it to Williamsburg at all, which is sad because we live in Atlanta.
And my sister has been lots of times. She takes her family there all the time.
Yeah,
So we should go, but we haven't.
Coast
Coast
Starlight.
Starlight,
Yes,
yes.
yeah,
It's one of our favorites. We love the Coast Starlight.
probably our second favorite
Hmm.
train.
After the California Zephyr.
I've taken the train from DC to Durham. That's probably the. I'm not sure which one that is. There's a couple that could be.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going up that way
Hmm.
this summer.
And we're not finding a new home yet because we're still traveling. so so we're still going to be moving around. So stay tuned on here, and You'll find out where we are. We'll pop up in different places. Moving from Louisiana
Janice
to
to
Tacoma. Ooh.
Tacoma,
Well, that's a
Washington.
move. That's going to be really cool.
Let's see. And doing it by coach for nostalgia adventure. I think you'll like it. You know what? Because you are going to be on the Sunset Limited and the Coast Starlight. No problem.
Mhm.
Those are good trains to ride in coach because you have the observation car.
Mhm.
So, yeah. I think the
And
hardest ones to be in coach long term are ones without an observation car.
mhm.
So,
Because you don't have any,
you
yeah,
have nowhere,
anywhere to
you
go.
have to
It's
stay in your
just your
seat.
seat.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and you just go to the cafe and get the food and just come right back. Let's see. Oh, you're asking about
Philadelphia
Philadelphia
to
to
Williamsburg.
Williamsburg because you want to go to Busch Gardens. Oh, fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. We've just never, we never made it down there.
So they do. So you're asking about. So what they're asking about Philadelphia to Williamsburg. So
Yes.
that's actually not hard right
So I
there.
think you could just take the Northeast Regional,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Probably pretty inexpensive too.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie wants to know: do they serve breakfast and lunch and dinner delivered to the roomette?
You can get any
They
of them
will.
delivered.
Yeah.
Just let your attendant know. And they've of late they've been coming through and asking us our preference. So
Yeah.
it's not a problem for any of them.
Or you can go to the dining room if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're in the observation, you can bring it to you there. So
I'm glad we could help, Stevie.
any of those
I
are
hope
an
you have a
option.
good trip.
So yeah, I think that about covers it for
Mm-hmm.
today. We will be
We'll
here
be
next
back
week.
next
We're gonna
week.
try to do it every week at 4, except for I think probably not Mother's Day,
Probably not.
but we have mothers to tend to that day. Um, so yeah, we will be back next week. I think 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're back in Atlanta, it's easier because
Mm-hmm.
we're on the same time zone as the East Coast. And thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the videos, asking questions, and reading the blog. We appreciate all of that. If you don't know where the blog is, it's at groundedlifetravel.com. And yeah, there's great tips on there if you need more information. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.